Welcome to the show. This is the Willpower Podcast, hosted by Will Holdren. Each week, we sit down with the brightest entrepreneurial minds and uncover the real secrets behind their success. And if you want every episode in one place, plus exclusive insights and updates, head to willpowerpodcast.org and join the email list. If you're ready to take that next step and unlock your next breakthrough, you're in the right place. Now, let's get to the show.
How are we doing, everyone? My name is Will Holdren. I'm the host of the Willpower Podcast. Today we have an entrepreneur based out of the Utah marketplace, and her name is Tiffanie Janowitz. And Tiffanie is the CEO of a company called Limitless Society, and that's where they help entrepreneurs build personal and business infrastructure that helps them create financial freedom into their future. And they focus on mindset mastery, habit architecture, and clarity on how to start, acquire, and scale a company, which is all important things for any founder out there. So with that said, Tiffanie, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Excited to dive into your journey here. And Before I get into that, a question I want to ask you that I ask all of my guests, which is one, what makes you want to take time in your busy day to hop on podcasts like these to go out there and share your story?
I feel a great responsibility to share my story. With the journey that I have, I'm like, if someone like me can lock in and bust down all of these barriers and create the life that is like true freedom to me, if I gained the tools to do that, then I feel a great responsibility to put that in as many hands as I can get. So the more lives that I can touch, the better. And I'm on a mission to do so. And as we all know, podcasts are a great way of just talking to the masses. And again, if people can get one takeaway from a message of people like us that can connect together, then we're doing our job, Will.
Exactly. Spreading the good news,
Yes.
So walk me through actually what your definition of true freedom is. I know you just mentioned that, and I know a lot of people out there kind of have different spectrum responses to that answer, but to you, what does true freedom mean?
Oh man. And this is what I love about the definition of freedom is it does look different for every person, right? So true freedom for me, my family is my biggest priority in my life. And so true freedom for me means that I can be accessible to them at any point, that I can provide for them financially, that I can be emotionally there, a good leader to them, like if true freedom to me is like where I'm not being locked down by barriers or controls, or things that are out of my control, which most things are out of our control. So if we can navigate that, that's freedom to me.
Yep. I think it's a pretty good answer. For me, I think a lot of it is just being able to control your time and do what you want to do. I think that is so important. Just being able to have that time freedom at the end of the day to go travel if you want to, spend time for kids you want to, like at 1 p.m. on the afternoon. That to me is
I know. I was just talking to someone the other day and I'm like, going to the grocery store in the middle of the day, that's freedom. It's like something so silly and maybe that people look over. But it's controlling your time and not having that dictated for you.
Yep. It's just that simple, at the end of the day, that's the goal. Walk me through, how did you become the CEO of Limitless Society, and really what was your passion behind starting this kind of company?
Yeah, great question. So I have actually spent the last 2 decades of my career really paying attention to where my strengths are. I think as leaders, and as we're wanting to grow as leaders, becoming aware of your strengths and your weaknesses are the most important things that you can do. And one of my biggest strengths is really like x-raying infrastructure and x-raying like what's working, what's not working, where can we ditch the leaks and bridge the gaps and everything like that. I worked in investments actually for like 15 years. I was in corporate America, and there was a lot of good things that I took away from that. But of course I had the golden handcuffs that was dictating my time for me. And there was a specific point that I was like, I know I'm meant for more. And again, it was that awareness factor in me of like, I know I'm meant for more. I want to be able to give more. And that's bridled in corporate America for me anyways, in my, where I was at. And so I had the courage to step out of there, and I stepped into the entrepreneurial space about 5 years ago. I was with a marketing company, actually flipping their infrastructure and making that more profitable, plugging those leaks and everything like that. And then I crossed paths with Keaton, who's my business partner now. And he had actually already found Limitless Society. So he and Ryan Backer, they were the two founders of it a handful of years ago. And their mission was very similar to mine, as far as like, if they've been able to create this beautiful version of freedom of what they're, what that looks like, let's make a blueprint for everybody else to be able to do the same, and let's create that at the masses. But what really made us different is tying the personal development space into it, which we can touch on here in a minute.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about that, a really key piece of both personal and business development is the infrastructure piece. And typically when you get visionaries and infrastructures together, there's like one or the other, but you need both to really have a business thrive. And so when the three of us kind of came together, we've definitely identified like that's where my strength is. And that's where we knew, when we spoke about it, we knew where we wanted to take Limitless and the big vision for that. And so it was just like, it was all about alignment. And that's really like such a key piece in growth, is alignment. And it was the right time, the right fit. And so that's when I stepped in as the CEO. It's been
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's awesome. And to your point, life is definitely all about timing, and you never know when that right opportunity is going to come up. And congratulations on being able to escape, that corporate world after 15 years or 10 years, something like that, in the investment
Yeah.
finance space. That's definitely not easy to do. And that's a big, scary jump for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you mentioned you walked in as a CEO and you're really focused on the framework for personal development and also for business growth as well. And you said infrastructure. So what does infrastructure technically mean? Is that like having a good personal
Infrastructure.
development routine, or what is that?
Yeah, definitely. So infrastructure really is like, when we're, to not overcomplicate it to the point of like what we were talking about, right? Like it really is a simple equation, right? And infrastructure is as well, it's your systems and processes. It's like your habits, your daily habits and your skill set and everything like that. And the infrastructure side of that is how are you optimizing everything, and I like to describe infrastructure truly as like, when we're thinking about an actual infrastructure being built, like an actual foundation, there's load bearing beams and everything, right? And so when we're looking at your infrastructure as a whole, if we're looking at it on the personal side of things, we're going to look at like the 5 different pillars of health. And how does that infrastructure look? If my physical health is in like peak condition, but my spiritual health is in the garbage, one's going to weigh on another, right? A load bearing beam can only carry so much while the other one may be carrying nothing. And so we're going to really look at, what does that look like? What do we need to, then complement something with another? Where do we really need to focus our time? And then on the business side of things, that's when we're looking at all things like on the business, like how is the business running? What are we looking at with, when it comes down to, marketing, sales? We're really x-raying into every avenue of the business. And are we optimizing that? Are there unnecessary costs going out? Is there unnecessary time being spent? All of that kind of stuff. So it is like the back end, boring, quote unquote stuff, if you will, but it is so necessary for growth. Without proper infrastructure, it's like the saying, like you're building a house on sand,
Yeah, it's the needle moving stuff that actually does move the
Yes.
profits at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. So if an entrepreneur brings you guys on, you guys come in as consultants and really take a deep dive into the company that they're building and growing, and then also into their personal life and see kind of what areas they need to improve on, which is also a harsh reality check, because a lot of entrepreneurs don't like being told what to do, don't like knowing that they're wrong in certain situations. So is that essentially correct, what you guys do for these guys, and how long does
Yeah.
like this training take?
So the cool part about Limitless is we actually catered to both ends of that. So what you just described would be more so something involving like one-on-one mentoring. And that's when people are ready to pour gas on the fire and they're ready to move quick. They're ready to make big moves. They're like all in on the transformation that they're wanting to have happen, whether it's personal or business. I mentor people that don't even own a business yet, but they're like, I need to get my personal side in order. Maybe that's a goal with the business side down the road. Maybe it's not, but I know that this personal side really needs work. Whereas, I have other people that I mentor that do both. The other part of Limitless that is so cool is we also have the group setting where we have people that don't have any desire to own a business, but they want to be in the personal development space. They want to be around like-minded people and just in the space to grow. And so we provide that on different levels because there's different means that people can jump into that, right? Some people aren't ready to go on the one-on-one fast track, and they need more of like that slow-paced drip weekly call that we provide in there. So we cater to both sides of it, which is a really special part because you get a lot of different stories at that point.
Yeah, and that opens up the spectrum a lot more too, because
Yes.
not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but people do want to be better during their
Yeah.
day, right? And just personal
Mhm.
development obviously is a big part of that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned obviously go into the personal lives and encourage them to take on new habits that are ultimately going to make them better at the end of the day. But just like picking up any habit, I mean, it's not easy. So how do you guys keep these people accountable and really just, ensure that this transformation like happens at the end of the day?
I think the most important part about, whether you're working with a coach on a one-on-one setting or in a group setting is, are you walking away from the person that's receiving the message? Or is the person that is walking away from that message walking away with true deliverables? And if I'm not giving you deliverables as a coach, I'm failing you as a coach because I can get you like riled up on a call and I can get you so motivated and motivation fails, right? Well, I shouldn't say it fails, but it fades.
Right.
And when that fades, what are you left with when when the glimmer's gone, when the emotional peak is gone? Do you have that clear framework to really work with? And that's what I really am like proud to deliver. And I think that's kind of my infrastructure nerd part about me, is I know that that's necessary to run a business optimally. So I need to give you that personally too, to really optimize anything that we're working on. So deliverables are the biggest thing. And then, to that point, the frequency of okay, how often are we meeting? That gives me an accountability with that person. But if we peel back everything that I'm handing you, my responsibility really as a coach is to help you uncover, like, why do you want to make the transformation? And if you have uncovered like your true real why, then that is honestly what keeps you going and what keeps you coming back for that continual growth.
Yeah. Yep. That's a very, very good point. And I feel like a lot of people say they know their why, but at the end of the day, it's really not it to the right degree, right? And it
Yeah.
takes time to figure out what your why is, and it should really move you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a very important motivational piece that you should have in
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah. I think a really important piece when someone's asking why, to your point, like we land on a why, but then I want you to peel that back even further. Why did you land on that why? And I'm going to ask you why several different times to like peel the onion back further and further and further. Because as we do that, and when we really have to like sit there and think about like, well, and take some time to really uncover those deep whys, that's really the why that we're landing on at the end of the day. And those are the ones that are driving us to get out of bed and to keep moving the needle.
Yeah, I think that's great. You guys dig deep and help them find out what that why truly is at the end of
Yeah.
the day. Diving deeper into the whole habit architecture process, as well as helping them implement these new goals. Really just let me know, like, how do you encourage these people to just stay on that path? I mean, even though it's going to get hard, and obviously you deal with a lot of these people, you've seen a lot of these top goals, and what do you think determines the main difference between people that are successful at completing these goals and people that are ultimately going to fail, like a few months down the road with these goals, and from what you've seen?
Yeah. It's a great question. And the biggest thing that the biggest observation that I have when I'm looking and coaching someone that is like crushing their goals versus someone who's not is someone who's taking action.
Mhm.
Being willing to fail over and over and over, but continuing your movement, you are going to get so much further along than someone who is going to like sit there and have the whole like paralysis by analysis type of a deal, and you want to start when it's perfect. There's no perfect time, and so being okay with being able to fail, but really like my top performers are the ones that they're okay to fail, but they're also not going to sit there and spin their wheels. They're going to fail and then they're going to get right back on the horse. And
Right.
that's really, I think, where the difference is in like my top performers versus the people who are really having a struggle. It's the
Yeah.
action piece of it,
Yeah. I
the
think for a
discipline,
lot, yeah,
truly.
definitely, definitely. I think a lot of people look at it as either perfection or failure too. And it's just the same thing as like January 1st too. It's like, starting now, I'm not going to mess up ever again going forward. And this is how it's going to be in reality. It's not realistic, right? And it's just like a lot of these other programs that are out too. Like you look at the 75 hard program, that's really designed the same concept, right? Because you're supposed to do it for 75 days straight. If you fail one day, you start back over on day one.
Yeah.
And so it's really that concept of like, okay, you can fail, just don't fail 2 days in a row, right? And just keep
Yes.
continually trying to do these good habits one day
Yeah.
at a time, right? And just
Yeah.
keep building, keep building, keep building. So
Yeah. I love that concept. Like I heard that from James Clear, like the founder of Atomic Habits, right? He was just like, just don't fail twice in a row, you know? But, and I really love that concept. I've stretched that a little bit in my mentorship that I have with people is I, like you just mentioned, I don't love like I'm going to do this forever. It sets you up for failure, right? Because
yeah,
there is going to be something that's going to get in the way. That's life. That's totally normal. It's part of being human. It's also part of like, if you're in the entrepreneur space, no day is the same in the entrepreneur space. Your
right.
days look very different and everything like that, And so I really like to set up my clients with just the tomorrow rule. Can I set up today to be successful enough that I can do fill in the blank tomorrow? So let's take the gym, for example, because that's an easy one that people can relate to, right? I'm not going to ask someone to say like, do I think movement needs to be in your life every day? Yes, that's a like core value of mine. And I think that that's like a pillar that keeps us moving well, not just for the physical aspect. There's multiple layers inside physical movement, right?
Yep.
However, when I am talking to someone that physical movement has not been on their radar or has not been part of their routine and they're just barely getting back into that, I'm not going to ask them to go and like, you're going to work out every day forever because it's important, that
Yep.
may be something that like we want to get to in the long term, but I'm simply just going to ask them to move their body tomorrow. Because what that does is that builds the self-trust within them, right? Of I can fulfill on this commitment for myself one time. And once you do it once, you can repeat that again the next tomorrow. But that concept just like I feel like it just mitigates the setup for failure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But it always boils down to you having that self-confidence and building that up, daily reps, whatever that looks like. And
yes.
that'll make you strong going forward. And I know another part of what you guys do is mindset mastery as well. So a lot of these habit things we're talking about also dives into mindset mastery. So I'm just curious, man, do you have any quick tips or tricks to help people develop like just a stronger mindset overall? Because I think in today's society, I think it's more needed than ever, just because
Mm-hmm.
of how phones have really shortened our attention spans, and it's so easy to see bad things happening all around us. It's easy to get depressed or anxious. So
Yeah.
any tips along those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. My two biggest tips on mindset is the very, very first one that I would like encourage people to really take note of is like, who are you allowing to come into your space and energy on a daily basis? What are you allowing to influence you? And I'm not just talking about like the influencers online, right? But the friends you're involving yourself with, the things you are consuming on social media, the things that you're telling yourself in your mind, like all of these things are influential, right?
Yeah.
And really taking inventory of the things that are influencing you to help you grow or influencing you that are taking you backwards or even stalling you out. Those are really important things to be aware of because when we again create the awareness, that's when we can make modifications around us. And mindset truly is something that like without awareness, a mindset shift is next to impossible. So that's where I would have people start is to really take inventory of what is encouraging your growth or what is pulling you back, right? And being really protective of the time and space that you're allowing that to have happen. But the second most important thing with mindset is the question of do you trust yourself? Trust is above all else the most important trait that we can have within ourselves because that allows us to step forth as the better whatever role we have in that place, whether it's a leader, a mom, brother or sister, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you trust yourself, then that's really where that next level of growth is. And I've coached several people that when I ask them that, their answer is no. And how we get to reposition that are those single reps that you put in where, if you're going to commit to something for yourself, follow through on that. And you've taken one step in the right direction of building that self-trust, that confidence, that, all of those traits that then build into your mindset. And you'll slowly watch that shift, into a growth pattern rather than sitting in like a scarcity pattern. So
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. And I do think you brought up a really great point about self-awareness. And I also think that's just crucial, right? You just got to be aware of what's really going on in your life, just like you are like in your own business, right? So you got to take into account what's actually happening and how you're really spending your time during the day.
Yeah, the data is all in front of you, but if you don't take the time to reflect and like take inventory on the personal side too, take inventory just like you would on business metrics, like you just said, it's really moving what that will do for your life.
Yep. And for entrepreneurs, I think it's difficult because the day can go by like that when you're in a million different directions trying to do different things, and pretty soon you just find yourself kind of just like reacting to things during the day instead of like proactively thinking ahead and trying to analyze what's really happening and going on. So it's an important thing not just to just not overlook in that regard. But so how many clients have you guys, I guess, worked with over the years? How many clients do you take with like at one time, or how does that process work?
Yeah, great question. So on the group setting, we've got different groups that we have within Limitless Society. So in Limitless Society as a whole, we're really lucky. We've got a couple thousand members in Limitless, and
Awesome.
And everybody in it. I love our network. Our community is so special. It's definitely like a collaborative community. If you're coming into the community for like a competitive step, you're not in the right space. The way that everybody helps everybody in this community is really special. But that's what really I think that that's the real difference maker, is having the space of personal development in there and not just business development. It almost gives permission to like leave the ego behind you, because if we're talking about personal development, there is a lot of humility that comes in with that space. There's a lot of vulnerability, which is beautiful. That's a really key part to growth. But when you get those different, like when you get that, in the mindset, and when you have someone that's stepping into a vulnerable setting, the ego is checked at the door, and then we're allowed to connect like human to human. And I believe that that's one of the, the special pieces of that. So anyways, that's one part of it. And then, we've got our entrepreneur space, to your point, that we've got probably like 700 people in our entrepreneur space that are really focused on scaling their business or acquiring their business and being able to step out of the 9-to-5s and everything like that. And then you've got the mentoring space. And Keaton, Ryan, and I each mentor our own clients, our own clientele, and per what our schedule allows. There's different seasons where we all can like open up a little bit more, and then there's times when we have to trim it back. So so it just depends on what we've got going, where we're taking things, and really the season of what's in front of us. So
yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, those are very impressive numbers. It's obviously a movement that's created. So excited to see.
We're only just beginning too. We've got big goals with it. So
excited to see where that goes in the future. So for people that are listening to this episode and want to get in touch with you and your guys' program, what's the best way for them to contact you or reach out to you guys?
Yeah, for me particularly, you can get in touch with me through my website. It's just my first and last name, but I'm going to make it tricky for you, and I don't spell Tiffany the classic way. So TiffanieJanowitz.com is where you can get in touch with me, or through my Instagram. And then from there, what I really like to do is like touch base with people one-on-one and see where the best fit is for you, because it's not a one size fits all. Everybody is in a different season for each person. And me being able to meet you where you're at and then guide you to the best place, that's the best service that I can start out with as a coach on the other end for you. So
yeah, it's a good way to get to know people too. I think it's just a nice one-on-one. But all right, guys, there you have it. Tiffanie Janowitz, I appreciate your time today, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Will.
All right, guys, there you have it. Have a good one.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow the show so you never miss a new release. And if you want all episodes in one place, plus exclusive insights and updates, head over to willpowerpodcast.org and join the email list. Lastly, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, take a quick second to leave a rating. It helps the show grow more than you know. We'll see you in the next one.